In the middle of a medieval city, where the streets are narrow, dark, and defined by extreme poverty, you suddenly encounter a massive, glowing landmark. It towers dramatically over the city slums, representing the most expensive home humanity has ever attempted to build for God. To replicate a structure like St. Peter's Basilica or the Sagrada Familia today, a contractor would face a budget in the billions. The value of the marble, gold leaf, and high Renaissance art contained within these single buildings is nearly impossible to calculate by modern standards. Achieving this scale required an environmental toll that modern regulations would never allow. Builders stripped entire ancient oak forests to provide timber for the roofs. In Milan, engineers dug a massive network of canals through the city, specifically to transport thousands of tons of rare marble from the Alps to the construction site. These projects often bankrupt local economies, requiring heavy taxation on a public that would never see the building finished. Construction routinely lasted for 3 or 4 centuries, meaning the exact same people who paid for the foundation were long dead by the time the roof was placed. Pre-modern societies, with their limited technology and fragile economies, had to develop a unique financial logic to sustain the most expensive architectural projects in history. Maintaining these construction sites for hundreds of years required a specialized financial engine, the Relic economy. When a cathedral claimed to possess a holy artifact, or the bones of a saint, it became a primary destination for traveling pilgrims. These visitors functioned as the world's first mass tourists, bringing an influx of wealth that sustained the cathedral's growth for generations. The Shrine of the Three Kings in Germany is a house-shaped reliquary made of solid gold and silver, covered in thousands of precious gems. It was designed specifically to attract donations from the faithful, who believed it held the remains of the biblical magi. When donations fell short of the soaring costs of St. Peter's Basilica, the Vatican began selling Indulgences. These were certificates promising the forgiveness of sins, sold to the poor to fill the church's empty treasury. Martin Luther famously targeted this specific financial scheme. He argued that taking money from poor believers to build a lavish basilica in Rome was proof of a systemic rot, a critique that helped spark the Protestant Reformation and permanently fractured the church. Other leaders secured their architectural investments through sheer brutality. After the completion of St. Basil's in Moscow, Tsar Ivan the Terrible blinded his own architect. He wanted to ensure that a building this unique could never be built for anyone else. Behind the awe-inspiring beauty of these holy sites lies a history of aggressive extraction, financial corruption, and significant human suffering. The wealth extracted from the public funded a level of engineering genius that pushed the limits of physics. Builders were attempting to reach the height of modern skyscrapers using only solid rock and manual labor. This model illustrates the central problem. A stone roof weighs millions of pounds, creating massive outward pressure that would buckle the walls. The flying buttress catches this weight and channels it safely into the earth, allowing architects to replace solid walls with fragile stained glass. In the modern era, Antoni Gaudi pushed these structural concepts even further at the Sagrada Familia. He rejected the traditional straight lines of European architecture in favor of pillars that mimic the branching patterns of trees. Gaudi calculated the complex gravity loads for these arches by hanging models made of strings and weights upside down. By letting gravity find the natural path for the weight, he could map out the structure with perfect precision before a single stone was carved. The engineering even accounted for the human ear. Stone vaults were shaped specifically to create a 7-second reverberation, an acoustic delay designed to amplify the specific frequencies of Gregorian chants. These sites were sophisticated simulations of the divine, utilizing advanced geometry and acoustic science to create a sense of overwhelming wonder. We currently build corporate skyscrapers designed for a lifespan of 100 years. The builders of the medieval world, however, were designing structures meant to outlast civilizations. This required generational thinking. Stonemasons spent their entire lives carving a single section of a wall, knowing they would never see the completed building. They were working for a future they would not inhabit. This raises the question of whether it was moral to spend such immense, often corruptly gained wealth on art, while the people who paid for it lived in poverty. For the people of the time, these buildings offered something unique, a free, public, and tangible glimpse of beauty. For a peasant in a brutal world, the cathedral was likely the only awe-inspiring space they would ever enter. The financial cost in billions is only the most visible part of the investment. Centuries of human lives, sacrifices, and brilliant ambition remain permanently trapped in this mortar, creating a legacy that a simple dollar amount cannot describe.